Becs, welcome to Eric's Psychedelic Breakfast.
Hi, Eric. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's an honor having you on the show. I think one thing I just want to get off the right off the bat is just to say that you are a medium and you're known for that and your healing abilities and working with people. And luckily we got connected through our friend Elaine. But I think it's so wild that I have two mediums. I just did an episode with Sonia, and I've never met any mediums, and I just met two of them, and out of nowhere. So this is such cool information. I'm trying to like step away from it, I can just absorb as much as I can.
Yeah, I like the synchronicity of it all for you.
Yeah, right, right. Was there ever a moment like that in your life where, like, out of nowhere, you just started getting into like seeing those type of synchronicities?
One of my favourite books of all time is The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield,
Whoa.
and he talks about synchronicities and being open to them. And I think that's the clue when it comes to things like synchronicity. It's being open to
Mm,
being guided by our own higher consciousness, by our own awareness, that we are the conscious mind, that thinking mind gets in the way of.
right. Yeah, and it's I kind of wanted to ask you about this a little bit later, but I've seen a little bit of just some videos of you doing a little bit of work and other mediums doing a little bit of work, and it just seems like exactly what you're saying. You're trying to get out of the way, just talking, and that is so crazy that
That's exactly it. Whenever I teach, I always say everyone is a medium. Mediumship
mm,
in its purest form is easy because it's a
wow,
natural phenomenon. If we assume we're all
wow,
from spirit or we are spirit, therefore it makes
right,
sense we can all do it. But what gets in the way is the conscious overthinking mind. And the role of the medium, I'm not sure when you present your work as in front of an audience, but if you're doing it for yourself, it's getting that conscious mind quiet, getting that out of the way. And when that goes quiet, that's a skill in itself. That makes
right.
space for that authentic you, that Eric that isn't really Eric in that body, the Eric, the eternal Eric. And once you connect with that, you can then connect to spirit yourself.
Mm. Wow, it reminds me a little bit of like enlightenment, of like getting that peace or
Yeah, exactly.
connection.
It's all entwined. It all connects.
Yeah, and it reminded me of the story I just heard recently of this student asking the teacher, how long will it take till I am enlightened? And he was like, 10 years. And then they kept drinking coffee or whatever, and then he asked them, what if I work twice as hard? When would I be enlightened? And he said, 15 years.
Yeah,
And he's
yeah.
like, waited a little bit, and he asked him, what if I worked as hard as you did? How long will it take? And he's like, well, 20 years. And then he said, why is it every time I ask you, it goes, or every time I work harder, it takes longer? And he says, as long as there's one eye looking like at the road or at something else, only one eye can actually look at the destination.
Yeah.
So it's
It's
like the
being in the
more,
yeah, it's like being the it's like when we talk about being in the present moment, it's like living in the present. So mediumship is about being in the present moment, getting
right,
that conscious mind, getting that overthinking mind out of the way. So you're making, in essence, with my mediumship, you're making space. You're making a presence for spirit to use.
mm,
So if you imagine my spirit and their spirit of a loved one or a parent, whatever it might be, coming like this, they're using my physical body to bring this into the physical experience.
mm,
Because you go spirit to spirit with a loved one or a recipient, and then you've still got to bring that experience into this physical experience, and that you do that by getting the brain out of the way, the body out of the way, and you create the space for the spirit then to use. I create a sacred soul space where they can use their memories and their love, and I can then represent them with their narrative, their story.
mm,
Because a spirit, when you're working as a medium, the spirit person knows exactly how and why and where and what they need to share to help that person. Because ultimately, mediumship is healing. It could just be a reunion of a loved mum with their daughter, or it could be someone took care of their mum day and night for 5 years. They've gone to the toilet, they've come back, and the loved one's passed over, and they carry that guilt forever. And the mum's just going, "Don't be so silly. You were there all the other time. It doesn't matter."
Right.
But then it can also, my work, when we talk about the healing, my work can get, my particular style of mediumship can get very deep. I was working about a month ago, and there was two middle-aged ladies in front of me, and this dad reunited. He wasn't nice. He was absolute. I'm going to swear. He was a bastard. He was horrible to his. He used to beat their mother up in front of them,
Hmm.
and he locked those two girls in a cupboard. He didn't reunite to go, "Oh, I love you. I'm sorry." He was there to help them release that anger and that hatred, to help them move on. It's because spirit know their job, and the job of the medium is to get out of the way so the spirit can do their job. It can be a mum just going, "Thank you for the flowers you put out for me this afternoon," or "Thank you for putting the new photograph up yesterday." Because when you work with spirit, again, what they're here to do is to show us, one, they're here to share that life lived and that life shared. But ultimately, it's about the life reunited, and they're showing that they are still here. They're still a big part of our lives. So when you get them share something, that they go, "Well, I only did that today." Well, you go, "Well, what does it show you?" It shows you that they're with you today when you did that. And that's where the healing, the comfort. And I always say is, with mediumship, nothing a medium says or shares with someone can take away that physical pain of missing someone, be it a hug, a cuddle, a phone call. You can't take away that missing, that grief. But when someone knows, actually, I know they're here, I know I'm going to be reuniting them again when my time comes, it changes people, it changes how people grieve. Yeah, it gets quite deep. It's simple in as much that when you talk about the power of love, I know it's a bit of a cliche saying, "Oh, it's all love," but that ultimately what it is, it's love, and the healing that brings in each reunion. It's quite mind blowing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Trying to see grief as kind of love.
Well, it is, because I mean, there's an old saying that grief is the price of love.
Mm, wow.
And with my work, it changes people's perception of grief, people's perception of reality sometimes.
Mm. Yeah, and maybe that can be said throughout like most negative emotions and
For sure.
experiences, and also high positive crazy experiences maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it changes people's perception of reality. You know, if I get a guy come along who thinks it's the biggest load of rubbish, and it happens quite a bit, and someone like their dad reunites, and the stuff that is shared, you couldn't make up, and only those two men knew. The guy might go home going, "Well, I'm still not sure, but I'm going home with lots of questions. I've done my job." Because part of my role is to help people question their own perception of reality.
Mm. Right. Yeah, and that's basically what mediumship is, kind of, right? Like going to a different perspective of reality.
Yeah, exactly. It's expanding reality. And with
Mm,
my mediumship, I try and go past. It's all lovely that Nan wants to say she loves you, but what's that reunion for? Spirit or the ultimate intelligence? They know exactly what they want to say, how they want to say it. My job's to get out of the way so they can do their job, because the spirit
mm,
know their job. The medium's job's to get out of the way. We've already said that. Get out of the way
yeah.
so that they can do their job.
Right. That kind of brings me to a question that I've been thinking about. If maybe we could take like a little shift. I know it's kind of early
Sure.
to a little bit of the sacred plant medicine. Um,
Let's go. Yep.
because just like spirits have a job, it almost feels like, part of the job could be going on one of these sacred experiences.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been involved with the sacred medicine for a while now, both ayahuasca, uh, um, buffo, the toad medicine, and blue lotus and cacao. So yeah, and I think what the medicine does, it helps again with that perception of reality. And I think especially with the ayahuasca, the madre, she makes you face certain parts about you that you need to release or need to heal from.
Right. Mm.
Because again, the medium, from say from a medium's point of view, unless the medium heals, unless the medium is free to be open without pain, without judgment, there's restrictions. And what the madre's done with me is help me understand a lot more about myself and accept myself more and release guilt, release pain. And it can be painful. The medicine's not for everybody. It's certainly not for even for the most people.
But one thing that I kind of rub up against is the coming down aspect of it,
Yeah.
the ending, right? I'm still kind of struggling with that. It seems that there's kind of an awakening that happens, but it always seems to come back to that. I don't want to say like sleep mode, but that waking up seems to be a constant theme. And I guess my question is just kind of like the spirits have a job, you know, and I guess what I'm trying to get to is a sacred kind of is a healing of it of itself, and that could be the job, could be to heal. Because now when you're back in the sleeping mode, you're not you're more free, right? You're not
And I
right.
think a lot of it is also when you've done the same resonance, is bringing it back so you can only not only process what you've experienced, but you can integrate it into this life experience.
Hmm.
I think sometimes as much as and I it was a learning curve for me as well for quite a while. You do the sacred journey. Well, I used to go to be a 3-night ceremony of the ayahuasca, and you'd have these profound experiences, both good, frightening, challenging, and wonderful. And you'd come back to what you call the normal world, the sleep world, and I wouldn't always spend time properly integrating it. I didn't know how to. Now, if I do a sacred medicine journey, I find that I put as much effort into letting it integrate. It might be on a subconscious level. There may not be any conscious thought behind it, but I make space for the work that I've done and the medicine's done with me to integrate and process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there has been more and more resources, I feel like, coming out. I mean, I'm right now a student at UTD about to graduate with a psychology, and I want to do my bachelor, I mean, my PhD in some kind of sacred or consciousness, still trying to figure that out. But, it seems more available and like, a lot of people are coming up. But it's still, I kind of wanted to ask you about this. And this doesn't necessarily have to be about mediumship, but regarding finding a teacher, like I know a lot of people talk about how important that is, and I don't think necessarily a PhD could take you to the right teacher, but how do you recommend that people go about
I
finding
think
a teacher?
with the sacred medicines, I was very blessed that I found the right people and I the right facilitators. And I think that is imperative that if you're going to be exploring sacred medicine or on whatever capacity, you've got to make sure you are in a completely safe,
Mm,
nurtured, and what feels secure environment and energy. And I was very blessed where I did, particularly the ayahuasca. I was with a safe group of people, shamans, if you like, and practitioners who knew exactly what they're doing and helped guide me through, especially because when I did my first ayahuasca journey, I had never touched any form of psychedelic. I'd never smoked a
oh
joint.
wow.
I'd never even looked at LSD. So so for me, it was full on, and it was probably one of the most frightening. Obviously, I didn't know how to navigate it. I'd had no experience. So with the Madre, my first ever experience was one of the most frightening nights of my life. But I processed it, and the second night, I was thinking, so I stay, do I stay? But she gave me the most blissful journey.
Mm,
So coming back to what your point is, I think it comes down to research and not going on the internet looking at people's adverts. It's got to be research. So you find someone that recommends them. It's got to be done like that. Otherwise, there are a lot of people out there, and I talked to some close friends about it. There are those that do a bit of ayahuasca, a bit of medicine, think they can serve it. No, they can't. It's a lifetime. I've drunk the ayahuasca a lot. I would still not even think about serving the medicine. I will recommend people where I know who I trust. But it's for me, if you serve any type of medicine, be it the ayahuasca or the buffo or the cambo The people that do that get a calling, and it becomes their life.
Mm.
And that's where it comes, and it is, I think, through recommendation.
Wow. Yeah. I've heard about some people talk about we can maybe change this teacher word. I don't know if you would actually do this for a guru. What do you think about that word?
I think all those words like shaman, guru, teacher, they can all get misused and misplaced. And I'm sure there are certain people that use it as a marketing tool. I've got a background of martial arts, and there was
Right.
always someone willing to go, I'm a ninth Dan master. And you think, you're not really. You're just trying to sell something. And I
Yeah.
think people, what I'd always say to people is, if you are going to explore or you're called towards the medicine and you're looking at particular, I don't know, going somewhere or seeing someone, and it doesn't sit right in any capacity, don't do it. Because your biggest guide is you.
Mm.
The brain gets in the way of what the higher conscious, what the spirit knows. Your spirit already
Right.
know where to go. Your spirit already know it's the right person. Your organ doesn't feel right. It's that intuition. Remember, to me, intuition is the gateway to our soul. And the
Right.
intuition will never put you wrong is when you listen to it. And again, in informal medicine opens up that gateway, that intuition to your soul, to your own high consciousness. And that's what's working with you along with the medicine.
Yeah, and I'm starting to find that much of what kind of goes on around you doesn't really tend to help or dishelp what's going on inside, you know? So like, like it's if you're not feeling good inside, necessarily changing the outside,
That's
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I was using it. Whenever I work and with a lot of my different types of it, I always use the analogy of a car. As I'm talking to you there, it's not really you. Eric's not really that body. It's an
How
extension,
fun.
an expression of you. So it's your car, it's your vehicle. So for me, how I believe it works, either at conception or sometimes in pregnancy or at the moment of birth, Eric, that eternal you, gets given a car. The body is a beautiful gift. I mean, it's an amazing gift, complicated, miraculous, all those things, but it's an extension of
Mm.
you that we use. But the brain is the computer that connects the spirit and the physical, and the brain, like car computers, can get too powerful, too much in control. It can over process. So
Exactly.
our brain gets programmed in a certain way. So, for example, let's say you was really bullied as a 9-year-old boy. Well, that what you did then might have served you then, but doesn't serve you now. So the medicine helps. We'll come back to the medicine again. The
Hmm.
medicine helps you release those programs that no longer serve you, and then help you. And also, we all carry this whole dysphoria about our body. Sometimes it helps us go. Do you know what? Your body's beautiful.
Exactly.
Now,
Yeah.
your body is beautiful. It does everything it's meant to do. What a gift to experience this physical
Yeah.
world right for the time that we're here. And then the psychedelics, the medicines can help us enhance that in our experience.
Hmm.
I mean, I know people that have done ayahuasca and they want to go on a journey. Yeah, great. But what I wanted from the medicine was to help me get the most out of this physical experience.
Mm.
Because when the physical body
Exactly.
dies, I've got eternity to go exploring. I wanted help with this lifetime and this lifetime's work.
Exactly. Yeah, and within that, you start thinking, okay, well, then what is the best way for me to do that? Which goes back to intuition, right? Like that's basically where it's at. That's the soul's job. But
Yeah.
like when you start thinking like, about meditation and all of this stuff, and you're like, well, I want to go to India and take these sacred plants medicines and drop
Yeah.
all of this Western personality identification so that I can be enlightened in India or something.
Yeah.
Like there's an escape or a way out.
But remember, you don't escape too much because the gift for your lifetime is for Eric to explore this lifetime in this physical body. So
Exactly.
it's letting go of. So for me, it's letting go of all the rubbish around us in the Western world, if you like, and go like attachments and chasing this and chasing that and going, well, what's important? And the first thing starts with, you talk about meditation. When I teach meditation, it's quieting down that conscious mind, that overthinking mind. we're always encouraged, programmed to keep thinking, keep thinking, keep thinking. And you say to someone, can you switch off your mind? And you mean, what do you mean? Well, just stop thinking for a moment.
Yeah.
They can't do it. But
Right.
that's the first step. In anything, meditation or enlightenment or mediumship, it's that first thing, getting that chattering mind. Because the mind, the mind wants to protect us, which is great as its job, but it's got too powerful, in my view. So that's what gets in the way of so many things. And the medicine, especially you take the ayahuasca, or especially the buffo, which is the toad smoke. I know you've ever heard of that. For me, there's different levels of medicine. If you take ayahuasca, there's a certain level of navigation possible depending on the dose you take. With
Oh.
something like buffo, which is the toad smoke, the say so you're gone. That's like a rocket ship. It lasts a lot shorter time. So to me, it's all about connecting me with my high consciousness and with spirit, the universe, and then bringing that back so I can have this best experience this lifetime.
In the here, right? The famous
In the
here.
here and now. Exactly. In the moment, because for example, this right now is a perfect moment in time. I'm chatting to someone new. I'm making a new friend. I'm in America visiting my brother. This is the perfect moment. Oh, it's gone, but I'm now in another perfect moment, and we lose sight of it. We're too busy thinking, oh, well, next year I'll do this. Next year, go. Actually, what about now? And I was taught. And I will use the word shaman because this man was a shaman.
Mm.
I was on a medicine journey. Ayahuasca, and he said to me, I remember saying to me, he said, remember, Rebecca, every breath is a gift.
Mhm.
Oh, man.
Right.
So I add to that, I go, every breath is a gift. What are we going to do with it? So I try and have at least one breath a day where I go, thank you. Well, when I work,
Yeah.
whenever I do my mediumship, I always say a sacred prayer and I set a sacred space. And I always go, thank you for my breath because
Yeah.
it's a gift.
I like to do at least one breath a day where I pretend like it's my last one.
There
Where
you
I'm like,
go.
am I ready for this? Okay, this is it. I'm not gonna do an in one this time. And then I do an
That's
in one,
it.
and it feels like, damn, I got another chance to do that again.
Wait till you get to my age. That's for real. Yeah. Oh,
Right.
I woke up this morning with a pulse. I'm ahead of the game today.
Yeah, yeah. Right. It's so interesting how that kind of happens. Like when you look at like famous teachers around the world, like when as they get older, it's like their teachings change a lot. It's like they're getting some kind of new realization that's like, oh no, this is enough or something.
Yeah, what I find as I got older is that my respect for my physical body has grown. I was always into looking after my body. I've never smoked, and over the last four
Mm.
months, I've stopped alcohol. It was like, you don't need it anymore. So as I've got older, I've realised with the work that I do in my mediumship, the power it controls or it holds, especially the body needs to be strong. The body needs to be in as good shape as it can be to handle
Mm.
the energy and the power of the work, because there is an energy involved. When mediums say, "Oh, I just talk to spirit," yeah, it's great. But if you're creating, if you're working in front of 200 people, or 100 people, or 50 people,
Mhm.
you're creating that sacred space for everyone to sit and feel safe in, both for the physical people and the spirit world.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Because like if even the most craziest thing were to happen, like aliens come and they say
Yeah,
that whatever, or like it would probably be like you would still need to eat. You still need to find shelter. There's still these like very basic like
that's
things
it.
that are just what it
Yeah.
means to be human. And if you forget about that, then you know
Yeah.
you can't
And
experience.
I know people go, I spoke to people who, they just want to go on these journeys and be enlightened. And I go, yeah, but we're here. We've got this gift of this physical body to experience this physical reality for this lifetime.
Hmm.
And for me, what you're working at is find that place where you can be spirit led, intuitively led, so you get the most out of this experience. So the brain stops being so. You need the left and right hand side of the brain, but you need to be able to quiet that left side of the brain, go quiet, 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 quiet. So I can then let my higher conscious, my higher self enjoy this experience to the full.
I love this quote. I think
Oh, your sound's gone again.
So, hello.
Feedback.
Thank you. I think Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche said this quote. He said, "Enlightenment is the ego's biggest disappointment."
I love it. Yeah,
Right?
yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
So good. It's yeah. It's like the person who wants to get enlightened won't get in.
Yeah, and the same, like I come back to the mediumship, the harder you try, the worse it becomes because you're trying too hard.
Yeah.
Because it's getting out of the way. I go, okay, what do you want? And it's then trusting that because I don't see spirit. That's called clairvoyance. I don't see spirit. I get this sensing, this feeling, this knowing. It's called clairsentience or claircognizance. But if I ever start questioning it, you've lost it. It's getting out of the way. Going, okay, I've got your mum, and it's Jean, and it's this, and then you can share that reunion, and then you can get out of the way completely. So spirit, whoever it might be, reunite can get on with their job of whatever healing is needed. And it's surrendering to it. I mean, we talk about spirit medicine, the same. I mean, the same as you have no, with some of the medicine, you have no choice but surrender. You know, if you're doing something called cacao, it's not as deep. It can be very deep healing, but it's not as deep as the ayahuasca where if you start a journey, that's it. You're working with the madre, you're working with the mother. If you do again something like the buffo, then that's like a rocket ship. You're just gone. There is no navigation with that one. And it's called sassafras, which is beautiful. She's a beautiful plant. It's a bit more of awakening one. So everything's different. The medicines are all different.
Right. Yeah. And it seems like somehow having more of these experiences prepare you for the next, even if it's like negative, it still pushes you up against that like edge of whatever you thought was
Yeah,
possible with the
yeah,
universe.
absolutely. Yeah, because remember, I believe your high conscious, your spirit is in partnership with the medicine.
Mm.
You're not, because if we assume we're all part of eternal consciousness, the medicine knows its job. The sacred medicine, because I was taught, and I believe that once you've taken the madre and the ayahuasca, she's part of you.
Right.
She's always within you, and so that blends with your own high consciousness. So in other words, your high consciousness, and the spirit medicine know what they want to do with you. And it's getting this more and more out of the way. Both past memories, remember, like with the past, the attachments we have on the past, they're memories, but we give them power because of the power of the attachments we give them.
Even non-memories, like every like current experiences, it's like showing you exactly what your desire systems are.
That's it. And how we process each experience or get triggered by each experience.
Right. Yeah. A lesson from the guru.
Yeah, but I always say we are our ultimate teacher. If we assume we've come from the stars, which we have, in whatever
Right.
context, we are billions of years old, having this one physical experience. But I think what happens, and it doesn't mean we've got to be arrogant, but I think sometimes people are so busy looking elsewhere for answers, where they sit in the quiet and they get their conscious mind out of the way. The answers come because we're all connected. We're all spirit people of the future. We're all cosmic people of the future as well.
Hmm. Yeah, like I
Oh,
love keep go
go
ahead, go
on.
ahead.
Oh, go on. No, sorry, I said someone shouting.
I was just gonna
So
say that I love the concept of trying to explain how to make a fist, like the steps on can you describe making a fist?
there you go. You just do it. You can't, can you? What do you contract? Yeah,
Right.
exactly. You'd write a book on it, wouldn't you? You'd write a book
Yeah.
on how to make a fist.
And everybody's so good at it, but nobody can explain it.
There you go.
And Albert Einstein said he didn't come to his realization of his work through his rational mind.
Didn't he? That's interesting. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, he said that. Yeah.
That's fascinating. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I think for me, I think we're born having forgotten so much.
Mm.
But I think we're
Right.
meant to because if you came, let's say you came into your world, into your life with the experience of 100 lifetimes or 100 different planets, whatever it might be, well, that would affect how you live this lifetime. I mean, for me, look at a child. We've been to the beach. You watch children on the beach. There's an innocence, there's a newness, there's something exciting and beautiful watching children play on the beach. Well, that's because they've come without any
Mm,
expectations of that beach, so it's new to them. So they get this
mm.
beautiful new experience, and and like being in love for the first time. I mean, if you've got the experience of being in love, I've got older. I'm single, but I can remember being in love, yeah, when I was much younger, and the pain of losing that love that becomes all part of the experience of this lifetime's, let's say, energy.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the I think this is used a little bit to describe psychedelic experiences or like plant medicine. And I think it was a parable in the Bible that basically Jesus just said that who are these people in the wedding without wedding attire. And so he grabbed them by hand and chains or someone else and they threw them from the wedding in the heaven and they landed, some of them land in psychiatric hospitals and different things. But like the idea is that if you come um to heaven, I think like with a body, right? Like then you won't be able to get in. You have to die. I think it's the idea to be able
Yeah.
to.
I mean, when we cross over, all we take with when we cross over, all you take with you are your memories of love, of
Mm,
closeness, of pain, of joy. You know, everything we take with us is our essence. And as a medium, when I'm working, when I teach, I say the first thing I teach is responsibility. Because if I've got someone's mum reuniting, everything she is, all her love, her memories, her joy, that relationship with her daughter or son is in the palm of my hand. And what am I going to do with that? Because everything she's trusted me with her, like she's trusted me with her eternal soul to share that with her daughter. And that's why I get challenged sometimes when I see certain memes who obviously have got great big egos. And you think it's not about that. It's about the reunion. It's about
hmm
bringing that memory of the love and making it alive
Wow. Right.
for that person sitting in front of me.
I don't want to compare the loss of like a pet to a person, but I recently lost my childhood dog, and I just think about um her sometimes, and or my grandma, for example, who I never met, but I'll have dreams with her, or I'll just think
Yeah,
of her randomly, and I'll kind of like feel her.
yeah.
And instead of being like, that like that's some bullshit, why am I losing wasting time thinking about gone ones? But instead I say, like, could that actually be them? Like, are
Sure.
they visiting me right now? Every time I think of them, could that be what's going on?
Yeah. Well, I mean, as far as pets go, I've learned from experience that some people are closer to animals than they are to humans.
Mm,
And that bond
right.
of love, that connection of love, is just as powerful. And when an animal reunites, I mean, I've seen it. I won't go, I've got your dog here, his name is Fred, because your dog won't know his name is Fred. Your dog will just know the bomb. If the dog was brought
Love.
through, but if your dog was brought through by someone else, who went, this dog's, this, let's say it's your cousin, and the cousin goes, this dog's name is Fred, then I know it's Fred. But what I will feel from that animal is how much it loves you. And it might be some memories. I mean, the last time I had an animal reunite was a dog for the owner. And it's beautiful because what I felt this love, and I just said that it was a rescue dog. You rescued this dog. And the woman went, yes. Because I can feel this animals make me feel how it was rescued by this beautiful lady and how there's, and then I said, you had to have the dog put down. And she went, yes. I said, but this is weird. You're laying down with the dog as it's being put down. I said, yes, I was laying down with him. So
Oh.
that was that memory. And I said, the memory this animal's got is this incredible unconditional love for you. And with that, that was her release. That was her healing that this woman needed.
Mm.
And with your nan again, just because you didn't know your nan physically, doesn't mean you don't know your nan spiritually. Because of course you do. Because your consciousness, your spirit, has come from the same place as your nan, the same soul family.
Mm.
So your nan coming to you in
Right.
dreams is your higher conscious going, hello, nan, there you are. But the conscious mind goes, ooh. Now, I'll give a good example of that is often when people say they've seen a loved one. I
Right.
saw them after they passed. They'll often say it was at the corner of their eye.
Yeah. That happened to my
And the
cousin.
moment they turn round, they've gone.
Yeah.
Well, what I believe it is they're standing there energetically, not physically, because they're not physical. They're standing there energetically. So you're spirit to spirit, you know they're there. The second you
Hmm.
turn around and the brain registers that you're going to be looking at something, the brain goes, holy fuck, I can't see this. Off it goes.
Ah,
Again, the brain
exactly.
gets in the way.
Hmm.
Now, I
Yeah.
did, see, I remember years, well, you're a psychologist, I did what's called A levels in my country. I did something called psychology A level. And I remember one of the studies we did was when they met people from the jungle. I can't remember the exact experiment, but they took them out of the jungle, and their depth perception hadn't been developed. So when a plane comes along, they thought something was crashing into them because they had no idea of depth perception. Our eyesight is learned, isn't it? We
Hmm.
see things upside down, so our brain makes sense and fills in gaps and takes away things to make sense of that of reality as our brain sees it. And
Exactly.
that's why the medicine's so powerful, because it gets that conscious brain out of the way. The brain goes, what's going on?
Exactly.
Well, your brain, we go to the brain. You can go to sleep now. I don't need, and that ties with mediumship. It's back, say to the brain, yep, thank you, calm down for a little while. Don't need you. Let me just work energetically, spiritually.
Hmm. Wow. Exactly. That's exactly what it does because
Yeah,
and I think that's what honestly the hallucinations and visuals are
there you
because it
go.
takes off that um like they taught me this in actually neuroscience class that what it does is actually something very similar to what happens when people have synesthesia, which is their ability to see
Ah,
colors and certain information goes to the wrong part of the brain.
yeah.
And um I think yeah, people see writings in different languages and all different types of things when they're just looking at a white wall or something.
Yeah.
And I think that's because usually your brain doesn't put that much attention into a white wall. But it's
And
everywhere.
yeah, I'll hit you with something crazy. Now, this is a crazy concept for you about well, the human brain and the spirit. Now, this is only my experience that I'm sharing with you. That's happened to me a number of times in my work. So, imagine you've got a loved one who's still with us, but has got advanced dementia or Alzheimer's. They're not quite with it. I've had them come through me to reunite with their daughters and their children while they're still alive, but then their brain is no longer governing and controlling the spirit. I had this man come through for his daughters, and I'm saying, I've got your
Uh,
dad. And I said his name. And she went, I said, but he's in that space. She went, yeah, he's not passed yet. I went, well, he's talking about the watch in the drawer you've just found. She went, thanks today. So although he couldn't communicate physically because his dementia was so far advanced, and there's no recognition of his loved ones because that's what dementia does, he's come through and gone, although I haven't crossed yet, my spirit is in and out of that body and I'm seeing what's going on.
mm.
So I always make a joke when I work and I say, if you've got someone you love with advanced dementia, Alzheimer's, and you don't think they know what they're doing, you're doing, oh, yes, they do. Be nice to them because on a consciousness level, they will remember everything.
Mm, right.
And I actually had a young man come through, had a dreadful accident. Before he passed, he was in a dreadful vegetative, or I call it a dreamlike state. He came through and reunited with this person. I actually met him before he passed, and he was communicating with me,
Oh wow.
non-verbally, but spiritually. And he wanted me. I actually met him, his mum, and his sister at a neurological hospital. And I was saying I was chatting to the mum and the sister about what he was sharing. And what this man wanted me to do, he wanted me to go in what's called trance, which was to totally surrender and let him verbalize them. And I went, no, I've got no one here holding space for me. I can't do that for you. And with that, he went deadly silent. I thought, you're sulking. So I said to his mum, did your son sulk? And she went, he was the world's biggest sulker if he couldn't get his own way. So then sadly he passed, he's blended, he's come through. Now he's back purely in spirit. But what I'm getting to is There's so much about the brain we don't understand,
Oh yeah. Right.
and we just try and rationalize it. Go, the brain says this and this. Well, this isn't. This is a wonderful experience, but this isn't eternity. This is the life experience that we're gifted with now.
Hmm. Temporary, changing. One of the
We're constantly in flux.
Yeah, one of the first things that they taught me on the first days of neuroanatomy was to look at the like look outside in the world in the clouds, and sooner or later you're gonna start seeing structures of what we learned
Yeah,
in the class. You look at a tree and you see the axons and the neurons, and and it's so crazy to think about you know that like how our everything is kind of like as above so below, it's like we're kind of look somehow we managed to be able to look almost like at a mirror and pretend it's like a separate thing.
I mean, people are so. I think what it is as well. I think people are so programmed, conditioned, or led to think this is everything there is. This small little bubble on this world, on this earth, going around the sun. And when you start to expand to people, actually, where we're situated is we're a little solar system in some backwater galaxy
Hmm.
where there are millions and millions of galaxies. It's like, and people, if you're not, your head can explode.
And down to the smallest atom as well. Like it can go
Yeah.
outward and inward too,
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
both ways.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah, and there seems to be a place where you can not like stand behind all of it somehow, right?
Uh, yeah. I mean, I've been blessed with some of the medicine when I've not traveled. You find this place of absolute bliss
Mm,
where you're literally nothing but everything.
exactly. Right.
And it's a place of like, you just know, it's not even a feeling, you just know it's a place of unconditional love. And you're in this place going, okay, I don't feel anything. I don't feel me, but I feel everything. I just feel all.
Hmm.
I think that's what we're searching for. I mean, it's
Yeah.
for me, it's always been like it's just a temporary experience because again, we've chosen or we've come back to have this physical experience.
Hmm.
And I think so many people lose they it's not saying lose sight of it, they don't even know it. They're so wrapped up in just chasing what they're told they've got to chase. The next car, the bigger house, dum dum. And they lose sight of what, from my view, they lose sight of what's important. Because
Hmm.
if I had like a dollar or pound for every time I've shared with someone about words that should have been said before they lost that person, or the apology that should have been said, the healing that could have been, I'll be out of a job, because it is, there's so much that people go, oh, I wish I said that. Well, why don't you say it? But we again, pride I think my mum had a saying, pride comes before a fall. And sometimes it's say it while you can.
Yeah, and I feel like some of these people experience these moments of like blipping out of reality. I mean, everybody goes to sleep,
Yep,
that's
that's it. That's exactly
and
it.
they wake up after living a whole life and they're like, time to, do this one now
How do we
without
know?
any
How do we know exactly? How do we know what we're doing when we sleep? We don't realize. We
we
just go to sleep. Like, okay, but you've been asleep for say 8 hours.
don't- where were you?
What's your conscious been doing?
Also, like in dreams, we also randomly will lose things and our keys when we consciously put them down, or maybe we didn't, but like that's the thing. What happens don't when you aren't here? And a lot of people
Yeah,
just brush it off like, oh, that's just part of being human.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm no dream expert. I have enough problems trying to sort my own dreams out.
Yeah, me too, me too. I don't know if
I
anybody
get asked
is.
that dream interpretation. I go, that's not my area of knowledge. It's like And someone sent me a message saying, I was being
Mm.
chased by a dragon. I went, well, I don't know why. It's a dream. I don't know why you're being chased by a dragon.
Right, you're being chasing the dragon, but who's chasing you in this dream?
Ah. No, I get a lot of, for me, there's a very interesting thing with dreams. Again, for me, a dream is a dream is a dream. It's often the brain's way of sorting out the day or the week or whatever's going on. But you can also get a visitation from a loved one while you sleep.
Right, yeah.
Now, for me, the difference is this. And again, I hope I explain how I believe it works. So when we go to sleep and the brain waves and the brain goes quiet, everything quietens down. So that makes space for the spirit, the soul. So our loved ones or whoever so we can make space for a reunion. So in a dreamlike state, you have a visitation, you have a reunion as a dream.
Mm-hmm.
But if that then goes into the long-term memory, like a real memory, remember, dreams don't stay; they come, they go. But it goes along, and it is literally like a real memory. It is a real memory. It's a visitation,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a loved one in you. Like you said about your nan. If you dream about your nan,
Mm-hmm.
who you've never met, but you have this conversation and this union, and it goes into your long-term memory. You go, Bex, I can remember like it was yesterday. Yeah, your nan's visited you, and you've got a relationship with your nan that is spirit to physical.
One of the things that they taught me in cognitive psychology was the concept of false memories and how basically they said that if you don't remember something from the person point of view and it's a third person point of view, then it's a false memory.
That's interesting.
And I was just so blown away by that, because I have a lot of memories that are in third person. And yeah, I was just like, what's the difference between a memory and an actual experience? Uh, or it's crazy how science has found a way to falsify that.
I've got my memory is rubbish. My mem and people often say to me, they come up to me at night and they go, Bex, I saw you last year. You got my dad. Do you remember? No, I can't remember last week. I very, very, very rarely remember any work I do because I view myself like a mobile
Mhm.
phone. So if I'm out of the way, I'm the phone for spirit to use. So it all comes through. It's not for me. It's for that person I'm working with. It'll be for the recipient.
Right.
So I literally won't remember reunions. It can be something very profound and healing. They go, and someone said to me in a week's time, do you remember you got my son? I go, no, I can't remember you because it's literally my brain.
Wow.
I spend so much time in my brain, I think, being quiet and out of the way. But especially when I'm working,
Mhm.
it's not mine to remember, it's not mine to own. And that for me shows my mediumship's working because I don't want to retain. If I took on board all the emotion, all the pain, all that healing that's going, the healing is not for me, the healing's for that person in front of me.
Right,
That
exactly.
reunion is for the person in front of me. I'm just the facilitator of it all. That's my blessing. That's my joy. That's what I'm here on the planet for, to
Yeah,
help
right.
facilitate that reunion and any healing that is needed, or that might also manifest from that.
Yeah, a lot of people who work as counselors or like heavy family psychologists, they will train or like psychedelic counselors or trip guides or whatever. Like they will have to train them and will limit how many patients they can talk to because a lot of them will like start getting depressed and
Absolutely.
absorbing all of the anxiety from their patients.
Exactly that,
It
because you're taking on people's
changes.
grief and people's emotion, and for the long, I had to work very hard at finding a process to work with spirit for that to be able to happen. So spirit and the people I'm working with, they take away that emotion. So I go home now. It's taken me a long time. It's only recently it's finally all come together. I can do a night of real intense healing, but it doesn't affect me. It's taken me a long time. I mean, the other week I did a show, and the first half was quite intense, but the second half, I had 5 suicides, one after the other, and that there was a son, there was a nephew, there was a partner. But that could have been, I could have taken so much emotion from those recipients. But lucky, but now with spirit, they all help as they're releasing their pain, their emotion. Because again, the work is healing. It releases to the spirit, and then that transmutes back into something positive for the planet.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of how what you were just talking about children at the beach, like how much are they thinking about, you know, the beaches in the Bahamas and how all of the people here are
Yeah,
ruining this beautiful last piece of earth that in such a
yeah.
weird century or whatever you want to take away from um the moment.
You know, you watch on the beach the other day. You watch children digging on the sand. They're not thinking this sand would be better in the Bahamas.
Right.
I wish I could afford a vacation in the Bahamas. Or it would be like, here we know, there's the moment. I'm digging my hole on the beach with my mum and dad or whatever, right here, right now. I'm in that moment.
Hmm.
And that comes back to what we're talking
Yeah.
about, is sharing the moment. We lose sight of being in the moment.
Hmm. And the moment includes all of the hard decisions and all of the heaviness
Exactly. Yeah.
and yeah, and it's hard to stand back and be like, oh yeah, and that too is what's going on right now, and it can happen in a fresh perspective.
Yeah. And the sacred medicine for me helps us navigate this physical experience. Doesn't it help us escape it? It helps us navigate by helping us
Mm.
face. I view us like an onion. We've got loads of onion peel. And we lift off one layer, there's another bit of the onion. You've got to peel that off, peel that off, peel that off. Until you
Mm.
find the core you, the diamond, you go, actually, this is the authentic me that can enjoy, that can learn from, and can love this physical experience and get the
Mm.
most from each moment. Whatever, you can't get the best from every moment, but it's knowing that this moment is a perfect moment and not wanting more or less.
Mm. Yeah, and maybe like you're saying, like letting go of the idea that those outer skin layers weren't you, or yeah, they weren't you.
They were you when you needed them to be you, part of your experience.
Ooh,
But what served me when I was 12
right,
doesn't serve me now. I'm getting on. Now I'm getting old.
right. Yeah, it's like the other saying is like the ego is a great servant but a lousy master or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And what I love, I've done. I've done the ayahuasca a lot. I've probably drunk 40, 50 times now, and each time the Madre brings you something new. I haven't been called to go to the Madre, the ayahuasca for about 3 or 4 years now. But I've been doing the other medicine. That's the other medicine that I've done is the Buffo toads, the toads from the Sedona Desert. And again, that is so intense. There is no navigation. That you literally, and that environment more than the ayahuasca you must as well, but with the Buffo you must be in such a safe, secure, and loving environment because you're literally gone. There, it's like with the ayahuasca, depending on the size of the amount of medicine you have. And I always say it's not the amount. Again, a lot of people say, "Oh, I had a big dose." No, it's not. Doesn't matter how much you take. The medicine will know. I've had tiny doses of medicine and had the most intense journeys. It's not about look at me how much and you're finding with ego. When I've taken it in a group of people, there's always not always. There's sometimes one person goes, "Give me a big drink, give me a big dose." Okay, it's not about that. You're not listening.
Right.
About being open to the journeys, about being open to the Madre, being open to the sacred medicines.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, people can have the worst experience of a smaller dose, and people can have great experiences on great doses.
Absolutely. I mean, I've had what they call like I've had like tiny doses and had some incredible journeys. I mean, but I am very sensitive to the medicine because of my work, because of my spiritual work. I'm very sensitive. I'm not immersed in the physical world so much. Obviously, I am, but not as in switched off to my consciousness. Whereas you get people sometimes doing the medicine and they're so focused on the physical world that has to be broken down first
Right.
to access that consciousness. Because how many people do you know is like so focused on the big house, the big car, the big money? That's all great, but that becomes your sole purpose, your sole drive. you're gonna, and then you do the medicine. It's going to take a kick up the backside to make you to change and face things.
Right. Yeah, there seems to be one main um take home message from the plants, which is the same one that you kind of experience in this reality, right? Which is kind of like less is somehow more.
Yeah, and surrender. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the
that's
key
it.
word is surrender. And
Surrender.
the word trust, but surrender. I mean, sometimes
Yeah.
you have no choice but to surrender, but it is surrendering.
Hmm.
And that's surrendering the ego, isn't it?
What was that?
It's surrendering. It's surrendering that ego mind.
Mm, exactly. Surrendering the desire for the big house and yeah, and finding see that's tricky, for me at least.
For sure.
Yeah, because it's when you're under the help of drugs or I'm sorry, sacred plant medicines, it almost feels like letting go of the big things is so easy because it's safer to let go because you're kind of playing with fire if you're trying to get some specific message or some agenda that you have that you want to exploit. Like that's dangerous, and letting go of that, you're like, okay, I'm letting go, it's safe, I know that. And like the more I add, it's clearly the more paranoia and fear that
Yeah.
I could potentially feel. But without the help of sacred plants medicines, it's like you're safe even if you do decide to go for the big house and for the big lessons. It's not so clear that you should actually kind of desire something more,
Yeah. I think
sort of
what the
like
sacred medicine
surrender.
does, yeah, the sacred medicine shows you there's so much more. But it's so when you're back in this physical experience, I would say it shows you not, not the relevancy of it all, but it shows you the shortness of it all. It's the shortest experience.
Right.
And if you want to spend your life getting a much, much bigger house, crack on. But at some point,
Right.
who's going to benefit from it? If you're doing it to leave for your family, great. But it's like, if you want to spend 30 years, 40 years working so you can enjoy 10 years of retirement, go for it. But I think it's a fight. What I think it shows you a balance that you can aim for.
Mm.
Because we can't be all gurus sitting on a mountaintop eating snow, living in the cave. That's not what we're here for. But I think what it is, we need to find a balance because the negative energy, right, is going, get in debt, get a bigger car. You need that new pair of shoes. You need that bigger house. Where's going, actually, where am I comfortable?
Whoa. Right.
And if you objectively go, well, actually, I've got a very, very good friend of mine. I adore her. She loves a new handbag. That's perfect. That's her part. That's great. Do I need a new handbag? Not really. I've got two or three handbags. That's all I ever need. It is. It's and something. It's like for me. I'm not
Hmm.
materialistic. I drive a 20-year-old car but I like my 20-year-old car. It's
Right.
finding, and I think also age. I think getting older gives you a different perspective as well. Although I've always been a little bit age, but I think as soon as I've got older, even more so. Because you really start seeing people going, as people get older around you, and people that are a little bit older are getting a bit older, you think, oh, it's what do you want to do? Where do you want to be in 10 years' time? Where do you want to be in 20 years' time? And it's, I want the big house on the beach. Great. But how you're like, see, for me, if you use the beach as an example, what's the real difference between someone who's got a $10 million house overlooking the beach or you sitting on the sand? Who's actually more involved with that? If someone's, let's say, has got a big beach house and they get there a couple of weekends in the summer, they've got their beautiful $10 million beach house, or you're able to get on that beach and sit actually on the beach on the towel by the sea every weekend, who's getting the best experience? I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer.
That's true. That's
There's
true.
no right or wrong answer. It's just what is. What's right for
That's what
someone.
it exactly. That's what it is now.
It is what it is.
Exactly. And it's not. you're not what it is. That's or like we are not what it is.
Exactly that.
Right? You can't, the more labels you put on it, the further away you get from it.
Uh, and that's exactly it.
It reminded me a lot of the Siddhartha story of the Buddha, how he was born a prince and he had everything. And then one day he went on a trip and saw like all these suffering people and it's like, this can't be right. So he like switched to a monk and he did the other path and he also found a bunch of negative suffering things with that path. And he was like, both of them are this exactly the same. And that's when he kind of, started meditating instead and realized that even being called the Buddha was being trapped. Like he can't
Exactly.
escape it. And yeah, he was gonna be like, I guess I'll be the Buddha, but like, because like since you gotta be in time and space, but was, he was aware of it, I guess, and standing behind the both of them.
I think we lose sight of that we have our own answers. Because with my work, I get asked so many questions, and I go, "What do you feel?" It's like with things like fortune or tarot cards or psychic readings. I don't do a lot because a lot of the time I say to someone, a classic question is, someone will message you and saying, "I need a reading to find out if my partner's going to come back to me." So I just say, "Well, have you asked them?"
Exactly.
They're what? So what they say no. So how much? Well, the best way of doing this is that ask them. Am I going to get a new house? Well, why? Do you want to move? So I think what a lot of my work is helping people find their own responsibility, their own consciousness, their own game. Because so many people don't think they're worthwhile. So many people don't think they're good enough because again, it's their programming from parents, loved ones, whatever it might be. I mean, you say to someone, "You're always being good enough," and they feel it. It changes them
Hmm.
because we're all on this path. We've come here to learn, in whatever context, whatever level, whatever reason.
Different classes and
Yeah,
grades.
different experiences. That's what exactly that.
And
You
there's also
know,
the go ahead, go ahead.
no, sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say there's a concept that we've done this before and there's no rush. Like if you wanna, like you were saying, if you wanna go for the big house and take a pause on whatever your karmic lesson was, you
Yeah,
can.
yeah. And in that, because I've got a very good friend of mine who's doing very, very well. They've got the big house, big car, but his world is his work.
Hmm.
What? Great. He loves that. That's his experience, his lifetime. Will he, will he think, "Oh, have I wasted time?" No, he loves his life.
Exactly.
Would I want that? Would I want that lifestyle? I really wouldn't.
Right, yeah. It's like one of the things that Ram Dass's guru Maharaji would say is that he would say a lot to feed people. And he would say that you can't tell a hungry man about God, therefore feed him.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
And
And,
people are
you create someone who's very, very wealthy. They maintain that wealth, they expand that wealth. That is their lifestyle. You can't be talking
exactly.
about spiritual stuff because it doesn't interest them.
Not until they have maybe that space
You've got it
once they
until they
could.
lose someone they love,
Hmm.
and then and
Exactly.
then I like the old saying that we've all got the one thing, we've all got the same thing we can give: time.
Mm.
We've all got the same amount of time to give or share.
Wow.
Then you say to
Our
people, what's important? Where's your time important?
our attention.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's something that I've been thinking about recently, like how that's like one of the most best things you can do for another human being. Like just, listen to them and be there for them and give them your full attention.
that's it. Give them your time. Because
Hmm.
remember, when you're giving time, you are giving energy. So,
Yes, it
and
is.
ultimately, we are energetic beings. So if I'm giving someone a positive time, I'm giving them of my energy.
Hmm.
And that's a gift that is priceless. It's
Right.
like it's like if you're around someone that drains your energy, and you're around someone, you go, "Oh, they've drained you." There are energy vampires out there, people that just suck your energy dry. There must be
Oh
people
yeah.
you're around them for an hour, and you're going like, "So tired."
Yeah.
They drain your energy.
Right.
And there are people that you get around that uplift you. And I'm very blessed when I do a night. I'm very lucky people say me they love coming because they feel different afterwards. Well, that's because they've picked up on the energy that's flowing through the room, and they've taken on board. They've helped maybe release some of their own. I haven't got to work with everybody for everyone to feel something. You set the intention of the room and the intention of the energy. You link, and off you go. They'll get their whatever level they need. Some may not get a reading, but they'll get that releasing hope that they need, and they go away feeling better than when they walked in.
Right.
And that's the energetic healing as well.
Hmm. And it's so interesting to think about like the people listening right now. Like I just want to say thank you for giving us your attention.
Yeah, because just by watching and listening to this, there might be one person that will go light bulb moment. So we've done our job. There might be 100 people go different light bulbs, but 100 light bulbs might turn. Some might be
Mm-hmm.
red, some might be blue, but there are light bulbs go on for people. And you might make someone might email you a question. That's a light bulb, and that's what we do. It's a cliche, but we're lighting people's way.
Yeah. To the
We've walked a
ultimate.
path, and yeah, we've walked a path. We're walking a path. And going, this is the path I've walked. This is the path I'm walking. If you want to share it, or if I
Right.
can enlighten you, lighten your path a bit, or take some of that pain away in the light, that's what the energy does.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that kind of brings me back a little bit to the concept of, I think we were talking about when we were talking about karate, just like the concept of like how much can you really help people if you yourself aren't even aware where you're going
Oh,
for 6 hours a day.
there you go. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's exactly it, isn't it? It's exactly it. It's a bit like the analogy of if when you see, if everyone says, oh, they want to help people and heal people. I go, great, that's wonderful. But the first person you have to heal and help is yourself. And the analogy is like when you fly in a plane and you get the little chat by the cabin crew, and they say if that oxygen mask comes down, put your own mask on first because that's so important. And
Exactly.
I'll be working. I'll say to someone, "You're running on empty," because I get the picture in my head. You're so busy trying to save other people or support other people, you haven't done it to yourself yet. And that's the most important. And that again comes back to the sacred medicine, where the
Hmm.
sacred medicine is going. The sacred medicine is all about the individual. It's about you. If you take ayahuasca, you take buffer. You don't start worrying about anyone else. It's all about you. It will be made to be about you.
Exactly. Yeah,
You're healing. You're releasing.
I love the idea of the gates of hell are locked from the inside.
Yeah.
You can leave any time, but I think one of the problems is that a lot of people don't really realize that because they just push away everything that's negative. They're like, no, I'm not in hell. I'm not in hell. I don't want to look at all of my problems that I'm experiencing. I want to just keep pretending that this fake reality that I'm projecting is heaven. Instead of
That's
being
it.
like, no, you gotta put on your face mask. You're in a burning room. You gotta get out and then maybe see if there's more people in there. Who knows, you know?
But is it yeah, because it's the reality that we create, the reality we're part of. We're in control of it.
Right. And
I mean,
that's
I
so
don't get me
sad.
wrong. If you are homeless on the street, yeah, I get it. That's not saying I'm just talking about most people is that we have some
Right.
control over our reality, how we perceive it, how we process it, and how we integrate it.
Beautifully said.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and and I talked about this with Royce, Kristen a little bit. Just like like that realization that, they say that you're manifesting all the time. And what people call manifesting is just kind of becoming aware of the synchronicities around you and
Exactly.
certain attention placing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you just don't realize that you have been the one who has been placing the attention on the negative things that are happening to you. And until you realize that, you're gonna keep putting the energy into the wrong places.
that's it. And that comes from, again, our consciousness doesn't want us having that, doesn't want us being like that. I know for example, if you've gone through an experience that was very negative, awful, that's part of the life experience. But there's a point where you go, actually, it doesn't serve me anymore. How do I move forward to it? So otherwise, you carry on that conditioning, that program for your life. You keep
Right.
repeating that Well, at what point you go, enough is enough?
Exactly.
Because this life experience has the potential to be beautiful. I know there's bad things happen, and that's part of the life experience. You know, it's like my life journey. You could say, well, that could be better, that could be better. But where I am right now in this moment, it's come to a point actually, well, I'm doing okay. And that's where we need to fight. That's where we need to help people to find that place. And again,
Hmm.
it's the medicine. It makes, for me, what was beautiful about the sacred medicines is it puts everything into perspective. You know, I've had some incredibly challenging and frightening journeys with the medicine. But come back, we spoke about right earlier on about I had the most amazing support around me, holding space, holding
Hmm.
that love for me, as holding that space for me, holding the energy for me as they were helping me release and heal. And one of the things I had to learn, one of the big things I had to learn was I was never good at trust. And one of the journeys, it was like being a baby, and I could not move, and I thought I was dying.
Hmm.
And I had the lady there who was like, I had no choice but to trust us. So the message saying, got to learn to trust. And I was helpless, and I had no choice. But it was like being a baby again in that moment. And that again is the medicine. The medicine knows what you need because you know on a deeper level, consciousness level, you know what you need. And the medicine works with you on this higher level to give that physical you, that brain you, if you like, what it needs. And then what you do with it afterwards is up to you. But it's, you know, I get the, you know, yes, there's a psychedelic experience. I've experienced psychedelic experiences with the medicine. And yeah, but ultimately it's helping you find and heal you.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
You know,
Um,
I've done a little bit of mushrooms. I haven't done big mushroom journeys. I've microdosed the mushrooms, and that's the beautiful experience.
mm,
And that's a lovely way of just getting all zoned out a little bit, and that helps you just find balance. So I certainly find balance.
well, Rebecca, I think Bex, I think this is a perfect place to
Good.
close out
Okay.
the conversation we've been going for so long. Thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom and everything. I just want to ask, is there any parting messages that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Um, I think to share, what would I like to share? This life experience is the shortest blink of an eye of eternity. And if you can enjoy a little bit of every single day, that's the gift. And the other thing is that I say, whoever's watching, whoever's listening, your body is beautiful. The body you are in is a gift. I mean, I've changed my body about a little bit. I've got a new gearbox and things, but it's like it's still a gift. And if you find that place, you go, do you know what? This body, and each cell in your body is doing the best it can for you, no matter how we abuse it with food, alcohol, drugs, whatever we throw at it, our body will always come back trying to do the best for us. And if I can ask, if I can ask everyone training, is when you go to bed tonight, just close your eyes and go to your body. Thank you, body, because I believe everything starts from a place of gratitude, and that'd be my thought, my final thought. Everything starts from a place of gratitude.
Awesome.
Oh, that's a bit deep. It's very deep way of thinking, isn't it? Thank you so much for having me, Eric. It's been absolutely brilliant.
Of course, Bex, anytime. Thank you so much. It was a
Oh,
blast, really.
yeah, and good luck with your masters.
Thank you. I'll definitely keep you updated in the
Yeah,
loop.
keep in the loop.
I will. All
And
right.
thanks so much.
I will. Have a great rest of your day.
Oh, what place to stop? And right at that point, the sound goes.
Oh, is it gone?
Thank you. Are you back? You got.
I'm back.
There you go. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. Thank you, Bex. Hare Krishna.